to see this beautiful scenery, you know, and there we are. And I thought, and I still remember the country, and same with Komiži as well, although with Komiži we didn't get ashore quite so much because all we had was the jetty, and for some reason they wouldn't let the Navy go ashore. And I remember climbing up to a high place there and looking at the view from there with all the beautiful calm sea, the beautiful island, and I thought to myself, even then, I still recall, I sat there and I said, what's this all about? I went for a medical examination close to home, and during the interview, the interviewer asked me, well, would you like to serve Navy, Army or the Air Force? I said, well, my father was in the First World War in the Royal Navy, and that gave people immediate success to the Royal Navy, because if you had relations that served in the Navy, it's a good chance that you would get to join the Navy. And I joined the Navy in December 1942.
A 43. godina vam je bila najburnija godina na Visu. Talijani su bili jako nervozni i više je puta bio policijski sat, nismo smjeli ići na ribe, a za ići na ribe morali smo imati laša pašare, dozvole za slobodno kretanje.
A ja moram potesam brže gore.
To ti je bilo tako.
Mi smo bili ostali gladni, mi nismo imali veze sa nikim. Vi se bi izoliran, mi smo jeli rogače i slanu ribu. Italija je kapitulirala 8.9.43. i od tog vremena pa negdje do 11. mjeseca Vis se mogao okupirati od bilo koga. Bilo je svega 10-ak partizana sa 10-ak pušaka i Vis je bio tada prazan što se tiče vojske.
Vis, of course, was the only island that the Germans thought they didn't need. So it was fairly easy for us to get it because we didn't have to fight to get it. I think they were very concerned when they found we were there. They said, oh. First thing, it was the closest to the Italian mainland, wasn't it? Vis is, right? So if for some reason the Germans didn't think they needed it.
My father was called up in 1943. He did a period of training in the RAMC, the Royal Army Medical Corps, and then was sent out to Africa, where he spent his first foreign service was in North Africa. And then he finally was transferred to Vis as a part of the work of the SOE, the Special Operations Executive, which was a unit set up by Churchill. The idea was to be subversive and secretive and carry out attacks, top secret attacks on the German forces.
It was in October time, 1943, when 3 boats went over there, and what struck me most, how dark it wasn't black, you know. So we sailed, got into Vis harbour, very dark, and their first recognition was some rifle shots from the jetty asking us for identification.
Jedan dvojac sudac, doktor Maksjedo i jedan podujek su išli na pregovore zatražiti pomoć britanskih vojnih vlasti u Bari. Oni su se vratili kao ribari talijanske, ovdje obučeni i poslije toga je nekako krenula pomoć Britanaca i vi se sve okupirao sve više sa britanskim vojnicima i nije to poslije bilo više interesantno, bilo normalno da je vala puna brodovlja i engleskih i naših trabakula što su vodili hranu iz ovoga i pomoć iz Barija, tako da je to sve bilo poslije jednostavno.
There was a Vis on the northern end and Komiži on the southern end. And they were both good harbours which were used by fishing boats. And when the Navy moved in, they moved in with their motor torpedo boats, which they kept during the day heavily camouflaged, of course. And the idea was to carry out raids on the local islands, Brack, Var, Korčula, and all of the islands.
We were acting as pirates because the fact if we could capture these ships, these German transport going to an island, there's some material for the war. As the time got better, there was less likelihood of being attacked from the air. We were patrolling most nights, and after patrolling, when you got back to harbour, you had to refuel, so you got very little sleep. But we survived.
A sjećam se, nam je bilo drago da su došli, jer su govorili da na Visu ima više protivavionskih onih topova što tuku, razumiješ, nego što je loža na Visu, koliko je toga bilo. Jer kad bi se pojavila stuka njemačka poviše otoka Visa, neovisno di je, razumite, svi su tukli, nisu znali di je. Svak tuče plotunom gore i onda kogo će ga uvatiti, razumite.
Now this one is a motor gunboat because it hasn't got the tubes, okay? This is a motor gunboat. MGB 647, it was my boat. I spent 2 years on this boat. There was the army who had bases all over the island, and the Air Force had strip of land, airstrip, just off of Komiži, to which the Air Force used to use fighter planes landing, and the Americans had some planes on there.
Lozo su potukli i prvo vrijeme je bilo kad je došla zima, kiša, blato, nisu moglo, klizalo. Onda su doneli čelične ploče. Onda su čitav aerodrom popločili. Tako da nije bilo opasnosti od blata. Jer to je strašno blato bilo, bi kola upalio od aviona.
Najviše mi ostalo sjećanje kad je prvi avion doletio na Vis, Spitfire, i spustio se gore u poljen i udario je u jednu cisternu ili čatrnju, gustijernu po Viški. i okrenuo se naopako. A već će vis biti pun kamiona, to se išlo gore, dole. Tako da smo mi, prvi auto koji je naišao na nas, odmah smo krcali i išli na aerodrom gore. Sad, razbio je avion, a mi djeca došli gore, vidite. Pa misli, ubit će ga. Avion je srušio i razbio avion. Došli su iz sela seljaci i krampovima, maškinama su to razbili kabinu i izvukli ga van. I sam je izašao van i kaže ok i puši. A mi se stali. Šta je ovo, ok, a razbi se avion, ka.
Ali ja kao mlad, ja sam uživao poći na aerodrom oko aviona i samo nisam letio. A mogao sam. A bojao sam se. Probni avion, Liberator, veliki sa 4 motora, ide na probnu vožnju, jedan pilot ide samo unutra, ajde djeca s nama. Bilo nas je 7-8. Samo jedan šao od Višana. Činili džir okolo Viša i opet se spusti i onda se on nama svima ruga. Mi smo se bojali.
Being in the Navy, we had very little relationship with the other forces. Bit I remember mostly was really to see the partisans, you know, how dedicated and how young. I mean, we were young, but somehow they were much younger, you know. And they used to go to war in little boats, you know. And I thought, you know, they had not much to offer us, only themselves.
The Adriatic Sea route was absolutely crucial to supplying the German army into when Hitler was realizing the Normandy invasion was imminent, and so they were very anxious to maintain this sea route, and that's where the coastal forces realized they had an opportunity to harass the Hitler's forces and hurt them very severely. And the operations on Vis successfully achieved that.
Ima sam među 9 i 10 godina tu negdje. Živio sam ovdje, u ovoj kući ovdje što imam ovdje gore, blizu, odmah 100 metara od mene, a Britanci su bili smješteni, ovo je bila škola ovdje što je srušena sada, a poviše nje su bile 2 barake velike, tu su Englezi bili i to je bila glavna bolnica unutra. Tu su bili ranjenice unutra i tu je bilo i operacije koja šale, ja sam trčao kod toga, ali staje kao dijete, razumite. I bi više puta išao kod Englezi jer oni su djeci davali čokolade. Tu je bila kao kirurgija, tu se je operacije vršila u tu kuću. A poviše nje, ona druga kuća što je vidite gore na crvenim kupama, to je bila kao mrtvarčnica. Gore su bili 3 barake, to je bilo po možda i 80-100 metara i više. Kruha mi nije falilo jer moja mama je mislila svaki dan 80 onih komada kruha za vojsku.
By that time, there were over 5,000 commando troops on the island and 10,000 partisans. Now the island normally probably holds a couple of thousand. I don't know what, perhaps you know how many people normally lived on Vis in 1944. May not have been more than 2,000 or 3,000. So suddenly 15,000 people were living on Vis, and you can imagine the logistical effect of that. Supply of water, sanitation, and food, of course, and water particularly was in very short supply. So you can understand setting up a hospital under those conditions was very, very difficult. I don't know if you've heard of Colonel Jack Churchill, who was a very famous soldier, and he was a part of the Special Operations Executive. He was a commando, and he led the British commando force on the raids on local islands. And he did wonderful work, and my father talked to him about setting up a hospital to treat the wounded. My father arrived with instructions to set up a proper medical unit, not in Vis or Komiži, which were targets for the German bombs, but up on the hill somewhere at Podhulmen.
A ti kum si ti?
Boletov, Vinkota Zubara.
A, ti si njegov sin. Ajme, moja tat spokojni su bili u ratu skupa. Liči malo na tatu. Valjda oni...
Englezi su imali inženjeriju kompletno.
Oni su to kompletno, je bilo nakriveno onim, kako ću vam reći, nema ovdje, možda još tole u Andrije ima one od lati. Krovovi su bili od late.
Je to bilo veliko?
Pa bilo je sve do tamo i ovdje ovako do dole, do te pristave je to bilo.
Da.
To je tako bilo. Poslije je to došlo ovdje Maslinak i to je dosta vremena bilo ostao ovaj trak od bolnice kako je bila. Jo se siću. Ne, to po priči. Ja se ne spominjem jer sam se ja u ratu rodila, ali po priči mojih roditelja, moje mame i tate, to je tu bila bolnica i mi kadica tu smo se igrali i tako.
Tu je meni vjerojatno bi je ranjen i tu su ga vjerojatno možda aparirali i tu je boravi.
Možda.
The story starts when he arrives on Vis. There is only a small garrison there. As time went by, there was a lot of influx of partisans. They came in by night, by boat. Many of them were wounded or in serious need of medical attention. Starvation, dehydration, very poor physical condition.
Moj otac je bio Boris Jurin i on je operiran bio na Visu. On je bio na Mljetu, tamo je bio ranjen, prebacu ga u Vis. U Visu su ga operirali i poslije su ga prebacili na rehabilitaciju u Italiju. To su riječi koje moj otac priča nama dok smo bili djeca. Ta je fotografija iz Italije kojim je moja pokojna tetka i na njoj moj otac i kćerka od tetke koja mu je bila u posjeti kad je bio u Bariju u bolnici.
There was a partisan, a veteran, who provided blood for a consideration of wine, and they stored his blood, which was group O negative, the universal donor, in washed out wine bottles buried in the ground to keep them cool because there was no refrigeration. And so the facilities for transfusion were minimal. But he was doing very useful work on the island at the time my father arrived. He realized that they were going to be flooded by wounded coming in from the islands following the commando raids. He wired to his unit in Italy to say, stretchers, 200 stretchers urgently needed. When he got the wire came back, stretchers not available, to what purpose would they be put? The authorities in Italy had no idea of the medical work that was going on the island of Visu, and so they didn't provide stretchers, and he was severely limited by what he can do. He had no stretchers, he had no tents to accommodate them, there were no buildings, but he provided reports, and gradually, over the months, the medical force did build up to provide a better service. That was all to do with the work of my father.
Djed mi se zvao Petar Butorović, rođen je 1913. godine. Igrom slučaja završio u partizanima tu na otoku Visu. Bio je ranjen i evo imao je sreću što se na Visu nalazila ta ambulanta i gdje je radio dr. Jim koji ga operirao. Nakon operacije koja je obavljena tu na Visu, njega su kao teškog ranjenika poslali u Italiju, u glavnu centralnu bolnicu za Južnu Europu, u Bariju. I tu su još dodatno radili neke operacije. Moj djed je možda imao sreće što se ta njegova ozljeda dogodila tu na Visu, gdje je bila ta bolnica koju su imali Englezi, što se tu nalazio kirurg koji je bio sposoban obavljati tako teške operacije. Znači on imao konkretno su njemu izvadili bubreg i par rebara, znači bila je jako teška operacija. Baš sam našao podatke gdje se spominje bombardiranje Visa, gdje se spominje jedna operacija ta bubreka. Ja pretpostavljam da se tu radi o mom djedu. I iz knjige sam uspio i vidjeti kako je to bilo vrijeme, da su ljudi u to vrijeme stradavali od puno jednostavnijih i manjih ozljeda, običnih rana, samo zbog toga što nije tu bilo nekog liječnika, doktora. Moj djed je stvarno imao sreću i ovaj produktivan život koji je imao dinamičan može zahvaliti doktoru Jimu Ricketu. Bio je dobar čovjek i evo drago mi je da sam naišao na ovakve podatke i da evo možda mogu zahvaliti potomcima čovjeka koji mu je spasio život.
My father's work was carried out with minimal backup, and he had no proper instruments. He didn't even have penicillin. This book is a list of the surgical operations which were performed by my father when he was at quiet times. At other times he was so busy that he couldn't keep a list, and he just had to go from case to case. There's a child here who had a grenade injury to the hand and left thigh. A traumatic amputation had to be done of one of the fingers in the hand. In the operation register, there are members who were wounded from the motor torpedo boats that are recorded in the operation register. And I was going to show to Petera Bickmorea these records. I'm sure he'll be interested.
We in the Navy had very little need for closeness for the partisans because in Komiži we didn't go ashore. You know, there was a barrier up at the end of the jetty, and there was a guard, you know. There was no need for us to go ashore. Apart from the officers, they used to go to shore to Navy House, where Morgan Giles was, you know. But no, we never had much direct contact with partisans. But I've met many army people who have, and they tell me they had some great fun singing, they love singing, don't they? Oh yes, yeah. Commissar, commissar, commissar. I don't know what they all mean.
Pa ja sam bio na službi u mjesni odbor. I onda ova zgrada Hrvatskog doma, ona dvorana, ja i još jedan prijatelj, imali smo ključeve za poći gore urediti. Dočekat priredbu na mjestu stolice i to. Kada smo bili stalno i kad su naši davali priredbe i kad su Amerikanci davali, Englezi. I oni su dolazili sa sastavima, pjevačima. U ona doba to si mogao samo čuti u velikim gradovima. Mi nismo to nikad bili vidjeli u naravi. U kinima smo gledali. Televizije nije bilo. Oni su za svoje vojnike vodili i klubove, nogometne klubove i muzike. Jedan mali kvintet je bio truba, saksofon, klavijature, kontrabas. I ovaj mali na bubnje, a mali ima ovako malu glavu, crn. Kako on tukao, to samo, ja sam mogao zamisliti ono to. Uvijek je koja palica bila u zraku. A tuka ritmove, onaj džez, ondašnji američki džez. Ja sam zavolio bubnjare na te njihove priredbe. Inače sam bubnjar bio do kraja života. A to je po noći bilo. Po danu motika, a uvečer bubnjeva. Za moj gušt najviše mi je ostalo u sjećanju njihove nastupi na Visu. Dvi pjevačice su bili i 4-5 u orkestar, 4-5 muzičara i to vrhunskih muzičara, za današnje doba vrhunskih. I to čut, to ni na radio nisam ga čut, a ovdje sam čuo i vidio. I to je mene oduševilo. I nogomet. Kad su dolazili su kod brigade igrat, sa Hajdukom su igrali, to sam gledao. 7-2 je Hajduk dobio.
It is only since the war that I've come to know about Randolph Churchill, and I believe he stopped, well he did, he went back, didn't he, to a place in Komiži after the war. So, you know, it's a pity whether you're about to carry on this with people from the army, but with the Navy we were very secluded. We were really stuck in Komiži, you know. It's only afterwards that we realised what was going on. During the daytime we had to hide. Before we actually went to Komiži, we had to hide in some of the little coves because of the air raids, and we put camouflage nets over us to shield us from the German aircraft that were looking. As the army advanced up Italy, so was our base for the best port, which made it very difficult, really, because by the time, every time we moved base, in fact, we took our home with us. We first went to Bari, maybe August sometime in 43. As we travelled from Bari to Komiži, we had to take our own fuel in big drums because, you know, on the deck. So we was only able to be there for something like 8 or 10 days before we run out of supplies, food, fuel, and we then go back to Bari to restock. This is a letter from Buckingham Palace informing me, it's signed by King George VI, telling me that I've been awarded the British Empire Medal. This is a civilian one, which was granted quite surprisingly by our British Commonwealth Office, British Commonwealth Office, Foreign Office, for the work that we've carried out since the war in our relationship with Croatia. I'm very proud of this one because we are Coastal Forces Veterans Association and all the Army very proud that of the reception that we've now received since the war, going back to Croatia. Marvellous.
The reception we get through the link between the coastal forces is incredible, and we've made friends over the few times that we've been there, and there's a link there that will always be. It will always be a link for years and years until whenever, but it will always be there. And these people will do anything to make us happy, anything to welcome us, and it is just a joy. Absolutely fantastic. And this year, very fortunate as well, we're taking my son. He's 30 years old, and he's very, 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 very enthusiastic about going. And Janet's had one of her daughters go there. Came with us, and it's like one of those things that over the years, it seems to be an opportunity for one or two when the time comes, because some have got families, some have got work commitments, but the interest there is phenomenal, and he's so looking forward to going. And it will be, again, another generation seeing the legacy for themselves.
He was a great friend for many, many years, and he persuaded my husband and myself to come on the third time they came over here. And my husband came right until the last two, and I came the last two with Reg. And each time after that, we have always come together.
We've been coming up the last 3 years. The last 2 years we come with Dad, but this year, fortunately not. But we've got his ashes in our lockets, so we've brought him over here as well.
The first year we came, which unfortunately I can't remember, but we were escorted off the boat, and the two escorts came everywhere with us, even to the hotel for a meal, and they marched us and counted every one of us back on the boat when we went back in the afternoon.
I think this is a lovely island, and my dad loved it. He always talked about this to anybody. Even he spoke to his grandchildren, telling them about Biz, and the embassy, and how they greeted him, and everybody was so kind to him. We don't really know. We will try and come back if we can.
Every time we go, the memories that come back, and I'm so proud that I can see that it will continue, that this legacy, this pilgrimage, whatever you like to call this, of the wonderful relationship that exists and has been between us and Croatia.
And there has been some memorials placed around the island, be it whether they are benches with brass remembrances, whether they're bigger remembrance places, and they are upkept, obviously trying to keep them up to, and they are still there today. So that's something that's always going to last. So that legacy has been taken care of, I think, do you?
Oh yeah, wonderful.
Because a lot of the people and children now are interested in what their fathers and grandfathers did. So they can go and they can find out about it. They're not just ignoring it, they want to know what happened.
was going to give Peter a copy of my book, which is this one. We're going to exchange books at this time.
Yeah.
But Peter can't be here.
No.
But Tanya has given Peter's book to you to give to me.
Yes. All right. Well, I'll say, here you are. It's a shame Peter's not here, but I'm pleased to present it on.
A great shame that he's not here, and we wish him a speedy recovery.
Yes, of course, yeah. I was an able seaman. Yes, not much, really. I'm a bit of a fraud because I wasn't in the war. I was more concerned with playing hide and seek in the islands, RAF-a and Korčula. We used to stay with the hide with the partisans and jump out and attack the German convoys as they trundled by. And they weren't terribly friendly to start with, and no wonder. I mean, we'd been supplying Mihailovich the wrong side, but Churchill found out and stopped it.
My father was very anxious to make sure that he looked after the partisans as well as he could possibly do so, because the relationship between the British and the partisans was a little bit precarious, because the partisans were suspicious of the English, like they were the English were a fascist nation to the partisans, and the partisans hated fascism.
We don't talk about the war at all. We just remember that all those that are killed, when, I believe that war is, well, we all do, is a tragedy, and that we should remember all those killed in war. Germans as well, everybody. It's sad. I'll just ask everyone to stand. Barbara, prayer for the memory.
I was in the Royal Navy, and we came out to Croatia in October 1944, not long after D-Day. And we were based at Zara, which is now called Zadar. I spent, 8 months there, but I've been back quite a number of times with Petera Bickmorea's group of people. One night we were out, and on our radar plot we got a signal, and we fired a star shell, and about 200 yards behind us was a midget submarine and 2 torpedoes coming straight for us. But we quickly upped the speed of the boat and managed to dodge these. And we finished up sinking this midget submarine, so we had 1 or 2 hair escapes. I went back to Visu in 1989, which was when Tito cleared it of being a military island, and we were able to go and visit it. The first time we went back, there were 200 of us went back. And of course, the numbers have gradually reduced now. I don't know how many. I think the last time I went, there were about 30. This is with Petera Bickmorea, who we have to give the greatest thanks, because he's kept the spirit of coastal forces going.
Dolazili su u početku iza rata puno. Međutim, kako je Vis bio zabranjeni teritorij za posjet, onda su oni hodili na Hvar. A iz Hvara bi bili došli na Vis samo onaj dan koji bi išli posjetiti groblje, baciti vijenac u more i tako te ceremonije obaviti. I trebalo se vratiti, nisu mogli prenositi. Međutim, kasnije se popustilo malo, tamo 70. godina, ja mislim. Onda bi bila muzika išla dočekati ih. Oni bi došli, onda bi u domu bila priredba, par govori i tako.
Obviously, with the veterans getting older, we unfortunately lost Reg last year, who was absolutely a fantastic guy. My father, Peter, my dad couldn't come today. He's now 93 years old. He still wanted us to come. We felt a little bit, not awkward, but it was whether we should, whether we shouldn't, whether one of us should stay. We've made provision at home for him to be cared for and made sure certain he's comfortable and he has everything he wants. We ring him every day, twice a day, and he's so pleased that we're here. And again, he's so pleased with the legacy which has been built up through all the veterans as well, obviously from all these old shipmates, that we're here, and obviously we have other members of the party who come here every year, and it's testament to him and the past veterans that he's still going on.
Let's remember before God all those who gave their lives in the defence of freedom and in the service of humanity, and for our 50 shipmates lost at sea to whom this memorial is dedicated. We treasure their memory and pray, Heavenly Father, that you will grant to them rest eternal, and may your perpetual light shine upon them.
The message to the family is basically that memories never die. People die, but memories don't die. Very, very much, very much. We're not detached from it, we're actually part of it. So we are emotionally involved as our friends, and we have friends on social media that on the island who we contact regularly. We have a connection with them, and it shows even today that we can go and contact people, and they can provide a service for us without any trouble at all. It's just done for us. We don't take that for granted. We take that as a part of the friendship. We don't know what form it's going to take in the future, but it may evolve into a different commemoration. Do you think?
No.
Thank you.
But we would always go back to the cemetery.
Yes.
We will always
so,
be at the Komiži. We will always be at the RAF memorial. But always go back. Always go back. Definitely.
Sometimes these things have to evolve, and evolution, I think, is the key word, because it's not the same as it was 10 years ago. It's not the same as it is better, probably. It's not the same as 5. It's not the same as last year, because Peter's not here and Reg isn't here, so it can't be the same. But we're still here.
I used to come with Dad to support him. 1 year my daughter came, I think 2 years my daughter came, but it was always on the calendar. Special time.
We are here for him, but more importantly, probably for us as well, which is probably more than even better from him, because we want to be here. It's not because we have to be here.
But every day he talks about Croatia.
Every day.
Every day. There's not one day goes by that he doesn't talk about what happened in the past, what happens, the people on the island. He talks to the other grandchildren about people he's met there every day. He never ever forgets, does he?
No.
It's his whole life. It's his life. It really is. And I can really, hand on my heart, say that is really his life.
Everybody in the party is playing a part, so some others are putting wreaths and posies at these different places, so that everybody feels part of the family and the celebration or commemoration, whatever you'd like to call it. There's all little things that he remembers, and we've all done it. We've been to the Milner Cemetery, and it's all the things that I've seen through Dad's eyes. And it means so much. His grandson's going to do that, which I think is quite fitting. It's the last part of all the services, and Mark's never been before, so it means a lot to Dad for him to do that. But we're here for him, and he wanted us to come, so we're here. It is difficult, but we've got to be strong for him. We're doing it for him and us. Oh, love Croatia. Yeah, especially the island of Vis with all its memories.
Being Peter Bickmorea's only grandson and being the first time in Vis and being a part of the ceremonies, it was truly special and particularly honoured. I was honoured to be a part of it. It went so smoothly, and it was very personal. I felt that it went so smoothly, like clockwork, like it's very well versed in this, but I felt it was, particularly personal for me to be a part of. I would love to bring for instance, my girlfriend and a few of my friends back to the island. I know my granddad's worked so hard over the last 35, 40 years to continue legacy through veterans, but I would love to bring it to a new generation in a way that which would be quite relevant. So I'd love to continue doing that.
When we come back from the war, we didn't want to know anything about it, So for 30 years, don't talk about it. But they've taken this unique interest now in it, which I'm very grateful for. I'm very pleased for. As they said, Alan said, and Janet and Catherine, to be able to continue to do this in the memory of all those whom they've been with before. It's just wonderful.
I feel happy that we've done it. Because although my dad wasn't here, we've done it for him, and we've met all our friends again, and it's been the most fantastic time that we've had here. He is proud of what we've done. Mark is here, and it's the first time he's ever been, so that's great. So hopefully he will want to come again and will join us in our pilgrimage is to Vis again. Yeah. We've had a lovely family holiday, and we've done everything we wanted to do while we were here to commemorate all what Dad has done over the years. And I feel quite, emotionally, naturally, but quite happy that all we have achieved for him, for Dad.